Welcome to KMUZ Theater Talk. I'm Ann McBride.
And I'm Ed Shopes. Ann and I are here the first and third Fridays of the month to bring you all the news and interviews about what's happening in the Mid-Willamette Valley theater world.
On today's program, Ed and I talk with director Johanna Spencer and two actors from Evil Dead the Musical, running September 20th through October 12th at Albany Civic Theater.
And in our second segment, we'll hear all about the beloved classic comedy Charlie's Aunt, running September 19th through 29th at Spotlight Community Theater in Stayton. We'll talk with director Shannon Rempel and two actors, Scott Abell and Emily Abell, from the show. But first, let's get started with the KMUZ Theater Talk calendar. Take it away, Ann.
Albany Civic Theater at albanycivic.org. Coming up September 20th through October 12th at Albany Civic Theater is the special event production of Evil Dead the Musical, directed by Johanna Spencer, who joins us later in today's program, along with two actors from the show.
Brush Creek Playhouse is at brushcreekplayhouse.com. And The Things My Mother Taught Me, a comedy of love, laughs, worry, and wisdom, plays September 27th through October 13th at Brush Creek. Watch their Facebook page and website for show information.
The Elsinore Theater at elsinoretheater.com. For information about local events and touring shows on stage at the Elsinore, go to their website and Facebook page.
Gallery Theater is at gallerytheater.org, and the ever-popular musical Grease is on stage through September 29th at Gallery Theater. Check out our KMUZ Theater Talk podcast for our interview with director Kelly Jansen and two cast members from the show. The darkly comic rock fable Fly By Night is a sweeping ode to young love set against the backdrop of the Northeast blackout of 1965, and that one runs October 11th through November 3rd at Gallery, and is directed by Seth Rennie. You can learn more about the show in our interview with Seth on our KMUZ Theater Talk podcast. Auditions for Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, the musical about a flying car, are September 8th and 9th. It's directed by Katrina Goddard and runs November 22nd through December 15th at Gallery Theater.
Kaiser Homegrown Theater at kaiserhomegrowntheater.org. The Thanksgiving play takes the stage at Kaiser Homegrown Theater November 1st through 17th. In this wickedly funny satire by Larissa Fasthorse, good intentions collide with irrational assumptions as a group of terminally woke teachers scramble to create a pageant that somehow manages to celebrate both Turkey Day and Native American Heritage Month. It's directed at Kaiser Homegrown Theater by Mia Abadaka, and you can hear our talk with Mia on our July 5th KMUZ Theater Talk podcast.
The Majestic Theater is on Facebook and at majestic.org. And Mr. Burns, a post-electric play, runs September 20th through 29th at the Majestic. After the collapse of civilization, an episode of The Simpsons and other snippets of pop culture become the live entertainment of a post-apocalyptic society from which new forms of performance are created.
For the Mid-Valley Theater Network, Evil Dead the Musical runs October 24th through November 3rd on the Chemeketa Community College stage with a special show on Halloween. Get the lowdown about the show on our KMUZ Theater Talk podcast. The show will benefit the Mid-Valley Theater Network and its member theaters. You can check out the DoTheNecronomicon.com webpage for more information.
Pinnacle Theater at pinnacletheater.org. The side-splitting murder mystery farce Clue on stage plays at Pinnacle Theater through September 14th. Written by Sandy Rustin and others, it's directed by Brandon Gitchell. And Clue on stage is inspired by the well-known movie and beloved board game. The story unfolds at a secluded mansion where 6 strangers gather for a very peculiar dinner party filled with murder and blackmail. In addition to the literal rainbow of guests, the cast also includes a butler, a maid, a cook, a cop, and the mansion's host, who else but Mr. Body. You can learn more about the show from Brandon and two actors from the production on our KMUZ Theater Talk podcast. Coming up September 21st at Pinnacle Theater are auditions for Miss Bennet Christmas at Pemberley. They'll be held in the Pinnacle Theater Rehearsal Studio in downtown Salem. Written by Lauren Gunderson and Margot Melcon, Miss Bennet Christmas at Pemberley is directed by Jennifer Jimshevsky and plays at Pinnacle Theater November 29th through December 21st. For audition information, go to pinnacletheater.org/auditions. And after Clue on Stage closes, Footloose the Musical will run October 11th through November 2nd at Pinnacle Theater. You can also learn more about Footloose on our KMUZ Theater Talk podcast interview with director Jerry Greeno. Don't forget, Joe Dodge's acting workshop for actors 18 and older is at Pinnacle Theater's rehearsal studio in downtown Salem. To sign up for the fall session of Joe's acting workshop, go to tickets.pinnacletheater.org or see the Pinnacle Theater Facebook page.
The Salem Playhouse at thesalemplayhouse.com. Salem Playhouse offers acting classes for both kids and adults. To sign up, go to thesalemplayhouse.com and click on the Classes tab.
Spotlight Community Theater is at spotlightct.com and also on Facebook. And Spotlight Community Theater will present Charlie's Aunt, directed by Shannon Rempel, September 19th through 29th. Stay tuned for an interview with Shannon and two members of the cast later in today's program.
Struts and Frets Theater Company at strutsandfretstheater.org. Shakespeare's All's Well That Ends Well runs September 25th through 28th at Eola Hills Wine Cellars. Go to the Facebook page for ticket information. The cast includes Maddie Blanchard as Helena and Graham Glasner as Bertram. Check the Struts and Frets Facebook page for the full cast list.
Western Oregon University is at wou.edu/theater, and the Western Oregon University Theater 2024-25 season is in the works. Here's what we know so far. There's 3 shows on the season. The first is The Other Shore by Gao Xin Jian. That plays this fall at Western Oregon University. That'll be followed by a TBD show later in the season. And it ends with Tiny Beautiful Things playing next spring.
Willamette University at wutheater.com. WU Theater's 24-25 season of plays include Urinetown the Musical, a hilarious satire set in a city that bans private toilets during a 20-year drought, forcing people to pay to pee at public loos. Urinetown runs November 1st through 17th. February 14th through 23rd, Willamette University presents Far Away, an hour-long futuristic nightmare in 3 short scenes that envisions a world where the promise of violence broods and nothing is to be trusted. Closing the Willamette Theater season, April 11th through 26th, is Bloom, Bloom, Pow, the climate doom comedy inspired by 1950s monster movies and the real-life 2014 crisis in Toledo, Ohio, when the tap water became deadly for humans due to toxic algal blooms. Get more information and reserve your season tickets at wutheater.com.
North Salem High School is on Facebook at NSHS Theater, and they've posted on their Facebook page an Amazon wish list so that they can start the school year prepared. Suggested contributions include Band-Aids, blue tape, paintbrushes, and more. And that wraps up today's KMUZ Theater Talk calendar for plays around the Mid-Willamette Valley.
Today's first guests on KMUZ Theater Talk are director Johanna Spencer and actors Aunt Ash and James Murray from Evil Dead the Musical, running September 20th through October 12th at Albany Civic Theater. Welcome to KMUZ Theater Talk, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Boy, Evil Dead the Musical is a really popular play these days. Joanna, what got you to bring this show to Albany Civic Theater?
I have been wanting to do this show since 2014. And truthfully, I think it was just some chatter about how funny it was. Friends had seen it in Las Vegas, and I remembered the movie from when I was a 20 something. And then here we are. And I went, well, no time like the present. So I submitted it to Albany Civic Theater this year and very excited to do it.
What challenges did you face bringing this particular musical to the stage?
Well, it has a lot of language, more language than the original movies.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a comedy, but people are sometimes afraid of the horror and the adult
yeah,
themes in it.
yeah.
But it's really full on comedy, which I really enjoy. Finding a venue to do it was a problem. We had checked with some high schools, but I'm affiliated with ACT and they seemed interested. So I eventually decided this was the place to have it happen.
What is it like on stage doing the
Oh my
musical?
gosh, it is incredible. Just things are moving every moment, like stuff, like inanimate objects come alive on stage and sing songs, and there's dancing, and there's demons who come and do a dance. And I think the people who wrote it originally were thinking about, doing something like Rocky Horror, and it is in that same vein. However,
Oh,
nothing like Rocky Horror. We have a lot of blood, and it's not real blood, of course, but we have 2 rows in the audience that can pay extra to sit in the splatter section and get a free t-shirt to sort of protect your clothing.
wow.
Tell us a little bit about the musical itself. Give us a summary of the plot, Johanna.
So it pretty closely follows the first 3 Evil Dead movies. Our hero, Ash, who is played by Anthony Ash, or Ant as he goes by, and his friends from college go out to stay in a cabin in the woods and very quickly find out that there are demons who are trying to get them to join them. They slowly, one by one, turn, and there's constantly fighting against the demons until they become one.
Oh,
And I won't give away who all becomes demons, but let's say all of them are touched at one point or another.
actors, what is it like playing a demon?
Playing the demon it's very fun. It's very zombie-like, right? And so you get to kind of, do this sort of weird, like, Walking Dead, like your head's like snapping to side, and you're kind of groaning, and all at the same time, it's all very like Johanna said, it's a comedy, and so you may see a zombie doing the Macarena or the lassoing all around, if you will, and so it's very goofy and it's very fun.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the comedy part, James. That's really an important part of Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 and the whole Evil Dead franchise. What's the most challenging part for you as an actor in this show, James?
And there's a lot of dancing and there's a lot of fighting. It's almost like a race to the end. Once the dancing starts, it doesn't really stop until the show is over. And so learning those dances and those fight scenes, you're doing those things in rehearsal over and over and over again. And I got home a couple weeks ago and my wife was like, you're wet. Like your shirt is soaked through. And I was like, yeah, because I was dancing my heart out, so that's been really fun. But yeah, that race to the end, it's exhilarating for both, I think, the cast, and it's going to be exhilarating for the audience as well.
And Ant, you're playing I guess you'd call him a reluctant hero in this story. Tell us a little bit about your character.
Ash he's a bit of a goofball. I like to think of it as like he never really was truly meant to be the hero, but he was kind of the only one there who could even kind of do it. So he was just like, okay. A lot of challenges come with that, which I absolutely love. I love being challenged as an actor. All I want to do is be better. And this is the most challenging role that I've ever had to take on, because playing Ash Williams is big shoes to fill, and trying to put your own twist on it at the same time. It's a lot, but it's so exciting. I'm very, very much looking forward to it, and I can't wait for everybody to see what the show has to offer.
Well, what's the one thing that you think about before you go to rehearsal every night? When you are thinking about playing the part of Ash, what do you think is the most important quality that you have to rely on as an actor?
I definitely think the over the top nature of his personality. He's got this aura about him that is just like, I am the man, and I need everyone else around me to know that I am the man. And that is so not me as an individual. So I gotta always remind myself, I'm like, I gotta be this macho, this hero, take on everything, kill all these demons. So yeah.
Anything worth doing is worth doing to excess sometimes when you're an actor. So probably can't go too far with this character, can you?
No, no, not at all. I arguably should be probably doing a lot more.
James, what part do you play?
So I play Scott, which is Ash's best friend, and he's like your classic dude bro, frat boy. He's always saying, just the dirtiest things that comes to his mind. It's always thinking about, the ladies, and yeah, that's pretty much all that's on his mind.
So, do you think it's like you as a character, or
I would hope no one thought that. No, I think Scott's, he's very crude. He's always swearing, he's calling people names.
wow?
He's a little bit of a womanizer. And so the part is actually, it's really interesting because you want to hate Scott because he's kind of a jerk, but at the same time you have to kind of love him at the same time. And so trying to find that balance as an actor has been really fun. You don't want to go over the top and make him just like,
He's a lovable jerk.
yeah, exactly. And maybe he could think before he talks every now and then, but he's probably still a good guy at heart.
Johanna, what kind of audience are you aiming to attract to this show, and why is it important?
The audience that we are looking for is a lot of 20-somethings who have become interested in this show due to the resurgence of the brand, streaming platforms and stuff like that. There's been a new Evil Dead show and a new movie. There's that, but also people my age still remember and revere this. And when you bring it up, they're like, oh, I remember when I watched that. I watched it way back in 1983 when I was in college or something like that with all my friends, or, I first saw it in high school on video or whatever. So it's kind of two-pronged because I've had a lot of people who are just really excited about coming, excited about the splatter section. People who like musicals will enjoy this. Let me tell you, these folks are the cream of the crop vocally. Ultimately, that's why they were cast, because they just bring it. I mean, they work really hard, but it's going to sound amazing.
How big is the cast?
Our cast is 8 people plus a couple extras who are stagehands. We have things called blood dogs who come out and take care of the splatter section. So there's probably 10 altogether. And then we have some backstage hands who are helping with some of the songs and things like that. Originally, I think the cast was 7 people. Some of the parts can be doubled, and which we are doubling one of the parts. We're doubling the character of Annie, and Shelley will be played by one actress.
Do you have to be a fan of the show to really understand what's going on here, or to appreciate the show?
I mean, I took my sister and she'd never, to a performance in California, she'd never seen Evil Dead. And she laughed her head off. She thought it was so much fun. And so I think, the combination of sort of combining modern tropes or memes with that Evil Dead genre and the musical and the comedy, really, I think anybody could enjoy this show. Absolutely. I would just say, in general, it's not for children, but older teenagers would probably really enjoy it too.
Oh, yeah.
Well, when you say it's not for children, what age range are you looking at?
Well, we don't have any specific things, so I prefer parents make that choice. We certainly are going to turn anybody away who wants to see the show. But I would say children under 12 may not get it and may be a little more worried about the blood being real and that kind of thing.
Parental guidance for kids 12 and under, right?
Absolutely. Also, there's some very blatant language and sexual innuendo.
So they could watch that on TV.
Absolutely. They could.
I'm just wondering if musical comedy people will enjoy it. I think so.
I think so too. We have a great band. with one exception, they've all either participated in or played for musical comedies before.
Mhm.
So they know what's going on. We have a vocal conductor who's experienced in musicals and teaching. Yeah, I really think that folks who like musical comedy would probably like this. And part of it is just the talent of the performers, and being able to listen to them belt a song as a demon is real enjoyable.
Who's the choreographer?
Ashley Barbeau.
Oh.
She directed Spamalot at the Majestic recently. She offered to choreograph us, and so they're doing the Necronomicon dance, and so it'll be really fun.
I can't pronounce that to save my life. Ed is always jumping in. I can't.
So necro, which is dead, and nomicon, which is sort of like I think it's a history or story.
It's the book of the dead.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
It's the dance of the Book of the Dead.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah, that's it's why it's important. I mean, if you're going to come back to life after dying and be a zombie or a creature of the night or whatever, it comes with an instruction manual, basically.
Absolutely. And that is the device in Evil Dead that sort of kicks off the whole thing, is the finding of that Necronomicon.
What is the biggest technical challenge that you've had to face when mounting this production, Johanna?
Well, I think so far, the whole aspect of bringing that stage to life, it's going to be a lot of work, and changing makeup and costumes very quickly. But we have some good help on it. There's some puppetry that goes on, which a cast member, Hunter, is a puppeteer and a voice performer. And he's been really helpful in getting that going. And our set designer, Bear, just has all the gimmicks on a spreadsheet, and we just got to set them up one by one and bring those books to life, and pictures on the walls and things like that. There's a chainsaw that is in the movie. Ash eventually puts on his hand. I'm sure people have seen that iconic, and it's on our poster. So that comes out. We've got lots of blood that comes out of the chest, out of the chainsaw. So just coordinating all that, it takes more than a village. Yeah.
Speaking of taking more than a village, who's doing the laundry every night?
Oh, that's a good question. So we have a stage manager and we have a costumer, and I am hoping between now and the time we open in September 20th, we will assign those duties.
And do you have a special stage blood formula? Because I can't imagine using the kind of stage blood that's sugar-based that a lot of productions use when, like, you have a capsule in an actor's mouth and they need to bleed out or whatever. But you must have a special formula.
There are 3 different types of blood that will be used in the show.
Oh my.
Yeah, one of them is a typical stage blood that you would use in like a blood pack. And then the other has to be a little thinner because we have to see it spurt up in the air. But those are both for the stage, and there will likely be soap in them so that they can be cleaned up later. And then we don't want to put soap in anything that might get in anybody's eyes or in their mouth. So there's another formula that I would say is a blood without sugar, without soap. It's not very viscous, but it's going to look great with the lights on it.
Oh my. You have to be an expert on blood.
Yeah, other than, just folks will have a hilarious time, a really fun time. We're hoping that maybe they'll come more than once or come back and invite their friends. So I'd really like just give the actors and the performers and the designers a good audience that really enjoys this show. Because I know, 5 minutes into it, you're going to forget about the world and just be like, oh, this is great.
Well, we've been talking with director Johanna Spencer and actors Aunt Ash and James Murray from Evil Dead, the musical, at Albany Civic Theater. And that's running September 20th through October 12th. You can find out more about the show at albanycivic.org, and you can get tickets there as well. I want to thank you, Johanna and Aunt and James, for joining us here on KMUZ Theater Talk.
Yes, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
It was a blast, and we hope we get to see you all at Evil Dead.
Joining us next are director Shannon Rempel and actors Scott Abell and Emily Abell from the beloved classic comedy Charlie's Aunt, running September 19th through 29th at Spotlight Community Theater in Stayton. Welcome to KMUZ Theater Talk.
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
Thank you. It's really cool to be here.
So, Shannon, this is a classic story. Charlie's Aunt is a play that's done a lot simply
Yes.
because it's a fun comedy, but you've chosen to do a different adaptation than perhaps what has been seen before. Tell us a little bit about what brought you to this show and how you found this new adaptation.
I found this adaptation. It was written by an anonymous author and it didn't cost us anything. So that's why I chose it.
So you don't have to pay rights for this show.
Yes,
It's credited to Brandon Thomas.
it is. Brandon Thomas wrote it and it is in public domain. So we were able to go ahead and pick it up and run with it. So and the anonymous author was generous enough to put it out there so that others could use it, and that was pretty exciting.
And how does it differ from the original script?
Well, the original script has them inside and outside. It was more than one setting, if I remember right. They were inside Jack's dorm room and outside on the vestibule area, and then back inside between the three acts. This one does not. This one stays inside the dorm room.
Okay, so only one set.
Right, which makes it so much easier when you're on a budget.
The comedy is the comedy.
Oh my gosh. And there is lots and lots of comedy in this one. This one is definitely farcical and so much fun.
How are rehearsals going?
Rehearsals are going very, very well. We are on a lot shorter timeline as far as rehearsals go. So that was a little worrisome, but I have a lot of really good seasoned actors that know what they're doing. So that's been very helpful. We do have a couple of newbies in our midst, but the seasoned actors have been very helpful in helping those actors kind of keep up and keep going. And that's been really, really nice.
Well, Shannon, tell us a little bit about the storyline of Charlie's Aunt.
We have it set in the 1920s. During that time, the girls cannot visit with young men in their dorm rooms without chaperones. And Jack and Charlie, they are in love with these two girls, and that is Kitty and Amy. They want to invite these two girls to dinner at their dorm rooms, but they have nobody to chaperone. So what they do is they talk their friend, Fancourt Beverly, who is in their thespian club, to dress up as Charlie's aunt, which is Donna Lucia. So he basically cross dresses. The problem is that Jack's father is looking for someone to help with finances and to marry. And so is Kitty's ward father figure. So there's some comedy in that. There's so much going on.
Comedy ensues.
Yes.
So the older men
Mhm.
are attracted to the cross-dresser?
They're not necessarily attracted to her because she is not the most attractive woman.
Hey,
So we just heard from Lord Blabberly here. Scott, before we get too deep in the details, your character is really kind of a classic of theater and in English theater and dance hall. A cross-dressing man was always a popular thing. Tell us a little bit about what it's like to play Charlie's aunt.
I would say that I enjoy the fact that it's not only like, a play within a play kind of an idea where you get to be one character, but then that character gets to then portray a different character. It's really fun though, because I happen to have facial hair. And so that is staying. So
my
the
goodness.
comedy is, of course, that, like you can see me in a dress doing the higher voice. with my beard, pretending to be flirting with the older gentleman, and then in other scenes, I am, not wearing the dress and I get to be a different character altogether. And sometimes I'm in the dress, but there's nobody but my cohorts with me. So then I get to still talk in my regular voice while I'm in full dress. So there's lots of different, ways that we get to play the character and lots of different scenarios. And so there's lots of those different factors that are going to be, pretty funny. And there's lots of physical comedy in that regard.
Well, that sounds like fun.
Audiences usually eat the show up just because it's always funny to see that. What's the biggest challenge in your part, Scott?
I actually naturally have a little bit higher voice. So for me, I am having to work a little bit lower for the male voice. And then the higher voice has to be even higher than I would normally do it. Where basically I'm taking my normal range and just completely spreading it apart. So even, like I have to talk lower than I would normally talk for some scenes because I want to make it very dramatic when I'm switching from one to the other. So it's a lot of not just, normally for my roles, I have to work on like my accent or I have to work on that. This is all about tonal quality and kind of changing from that side of it. So it's a different perspective and very fun to kind of go between those two.
What a fun thing as an actor.
Oh, yeah.
So, Emma, would you describe your role as Kitty?
She is, of the two young ladies, definitely the more flighty, and I don't really want to say it, but she's slightly more dumb. The description of her in our version of the script is not dumb, but flutter-pated, which means overly excited about everything.
I see.
So she's basically just bouncing across the stage the whole time, and she's just saying the most ridiculous things and can't follow a conversation. She's amazing. In all the roles that I've had previous, I have been more of the straight man. So like I'm always more reserved and stuff. So it's really fun to try and stretch to this completely different and really, really fun character.
So, Shannon, describe Act 2 when they all are there.
When everybody is kind of going at it.
Yes.
Act 2, it's kind of where Charlie and Jack have put their plan in place, and Donna Lucia has come into play. The real Donna Lucia has arrived. The two gentlemen have offered their hand in marriage, and all of this is unfolding. And Jack and Charlie are just trying to get themselves out of this big mess that they have put themselves into. And in the process, they're also trying to ask for the two girls' hand in marriage. That's their biggest goal.
So it's complicated.
Yeah. That's their biggest goal in this whole thing, was to get these two girls to say yes to marriage.
So, Emma, what is your favorite part in the show?
So, my father is the one who is playing Fancourt Babberley, my favorite character in the show, for so many reasons. So there is a scene where Amy and Kitty are basically telling the origins of their love story with the two younger gentlemen. Mm-hmm. And they're telling it to Fancourt Babberley dressed as Donna Lucia. So they think that she's a girl and he's playing the part wonderfully. And it's just a lot of physical comedy that just is really fun to do with him, and to share the stage with him is so amazing. And he's hilarious, and the actress playing Amy, whose name is Maggie, she's amazing. It's just a lot of different dimensions all in one scene, and yeah, that's my favorite part.
What is it like to have your father on stage with you?
It's really fun. It's a lot of, being on stage with him is awesome, but it's the going home and then having both of us ask each other, so did I do this right? Was this good? Did you like this? For like an hour and a half after rehearsal. That's the part I don't like. Otherwise, it's fantastic. Sharing this stage with him is it's like sharing your favorite activity with your dad.
And Scott, what's your favorite part of the play?
There's some physical humor that I get to do that I have not been able to do a lot of in the past. So that has been like a great joy. But I would say that it's probably one of the more boastful moments, because Fancourt Babberley is a amateur theatrics individual. And so, being a part of community theater, you kind of like resonate with that character. So there's some times where he, gets up in front and just kind of like makes a full stand in front and kind of like takes a moment to shine in there. And those are really fun. There's one where I actually do like a bit of a sing. Like I sing and kind of like my voice cracks halfway through it. So going back and forth, that's probably one of my favorite parts, just because it's so out front, so, many dimensions to that moment. And you get to just be just full on funny. And that's my wheelhouse.
I see.
That sounds like a ton of fun. Well, folks, it's Charlie's Aunt, a new adaptation of Brandon Thomas's classic play, directed at Spotli Community Theater by Shannon Rempel. We've been talking with Shannon and also with Scott Abell and Emma Abell, who play two of the characters in this play, Lord Fancourt Babberley and Kitty Verdon. It's a classic story. It's a fun story. It plays at Spotlight Community Theater September 19th through 29th. You can get your tickets and more information about the show at spotlightct.com. Thank you so much, Shannon, Scott, and Emma, for joining us here on KMUZ Theater Talk.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Thank you as well.
Thank you so much.
It's time to wind up today's KMUZ Theater Talk program. Thank you for joining us. Next Friday at 9 a.m., tune in to KMUZ at 100.7 FM to hear Talking About Art with Joel Zach. KMUZ Theater Talk is a proud member of the Mid-Valley Theater Network.
KMUZ Theater Talk comes your way at 9 a.m. the first and third Friday of every month on your radio or smart speaker at 100.7 and 88.5 FM, and on KMWV FM Dallas at 98.3 HD2, on your favorite radio app, or streaming worldwide at kmuz.org. You can also listen to KMUZ Theater Talk anytime, wherever you get your podcasts.
Ed and I return September 20th with a brand new KMUZ Theater Talk program. Meanwhile, check out our KMUZ Theater Talk Facebook page for news and updates about live theater in the Mid-Willamette Valley.
If you haven't yet joined in to support Theater Talk and the rest of KMUZ's great community radio programs, go to kmuz.org right now, click on the Pledge to Your Favorite Show box, and choose KMUZ Theater Talk. And thanks for your support. Until next time,
We'll see you in the front row.